Kang Doyen pressed his back against the training room wall and tried to catch his breath. His lungs burned. His legs shook. Around him, the other soldiers moved through the combat simulation like they were born for it. Fast, deadly, perfect, he was none of those things, Doyen. Get back in position. Lieutenant Choi Hana's voice cut through the noise of weapons fire and shouting. She stood at the control panel, her face tight with frustration. Doyen pushed himself forward. His rifle felt heavy in his hands. The simulation room projected enemies all around them, digital aliens that looked real enough to be terrifying. He raised his weapon, aimed at one of the targets, and pulled the trigger. He missed again. The simulated alien fired back. A bright red mark appeared on Doyen's chest piece. He was dead. Again. Simulation ended, the computer announced. The digital enemies vanished. The other soldiers lowered their weapons. Some were breathing hard, but they were all still alive. All except Doyen. Corporal Nam Taiyang walked past him, not even trying to hide his disgust. Third time this week, maintenance boy. Maybe you should stick to fixing toilets. Some of the others laughed. Doyen felt his face grow hot, but he said nothing. What could he say? Taiyang was right. Doyen had failed basic combat training twice. He barely passed the written tests. The only reason he was here, on the military vessel called Horizon's Edge, was because the draft lottery picked his number. Earth needed soldiers, even terrible ones. Everyone dismissed, Lieutenant Hana said. She didn't look at Doyen. That somehow hurt more than Taiyang's insults. The soldiers filed out. Doyen stayed behind, pretending to check his rifle. He didn't want to walk with them. Didn't want to hear more jokes about how useless he was. You know, you're not as bad as they say, Doyen looked up. Private Lee Yuna stood in the doorway. She was the unit's medic, small and quiet. She didn't talk much, but when she did, she was always kind. I'm exactly as bad as they say, Doyen replied. He set down his rifle. I can't shoot. Can't fight. Can't do anything right? You can fix things, Yuna said. Last week, you repaired the air filtration system in 20 minutes. The engineer said it would take hours. That's different. Machines make sense. Combat doesn't. Yuna smiled a little. Maybe you just haven't found the right way to fight yet. Before Doyen could answer, an alarm blared through the ship. Red lights flashed on the walls. Both of them froze. All personnel to briefing room. Commander Park requires immediate assembly. They ran. The corridors of the Horizon's Edge were narrow and gray, filled with soldiers rushing in the same direction. Doyen's heart pounded. Alarms like this meant something serious. An attack, maybe. Or worse, the briefing room was packed. Commander Park Hyunwoo stood at the front, his face like stone. He was a big man with scars on his hands and a reputation for being harder than titanium. Listen up, Commander Park said. His voice didn't need a microphone. 30 minutes ago, we intercepted a distress signal from the research vessel Meridian. They were studying an alien derelict in Sector 7. The signal cut off abruptly. We're going in, whispers filled the room. Alien derelicts were dangerous. Old ships from dead civilizations full of technology nobody understood and dangers nobody expected. This is a rescue and recovery mission, the commander continued. We go in, find survivors, secure any valuable technology, and get out. Lieutenant Hana will lead the ground team. You have 1 hour to prep. The briefing ended. Soldiers rushed to the armory. Doyen followed slowly. His hands were already shaking. An hour later, they were on the transport ship dropping toward the derelict. Doyen sat in the back, as always. He'd been assigned to rear guard duty, which everyone knew meant stay out of the way and try not to die. The alien ship was massive. It hung in space like a dead whale, all black metal and strange angles. Looking at it made Doyen's stomach turn. Something about it felt wrong. Remember your training, Lieutenant Hana said as they prepared to dock.
Stay together.
Watch your corners. This is not a drill. The transport connected with a docking port. The doors hissed open. Cold air rushed in, smelling like metal and something else. Something chemical and old. They moved inside. The alien ship was dark. Their helmet lights cut through the blackness, showing walls covered in symbols nobody could read. The corridor was wide enough for 3 men to walk side by side. Their boots made no sound on the strange floor. Spread out, Hana ordered. Team 1, left corridor. Team 2, right? Team 3, straight ahead. Doyen was in Team 3. 6 soldiers, including Taiyang and Yuna. They moved forward carefully. Doyen's rifle felt slippery in his sweating hands. They found the research team 10 minutes later. 5 bodies still in their suits, dead for hours, maybe days. No wounds, no signs of violence. They just looked like they'd fallen asleep and never woken up. What killed them? Someone whispered. Unknown, Hana said through the comm. Mark the location. Keep moving. They went deeper. The ship seemed to go on forever, corridor after corridor. Then they reached a large room. It was circular, with a high ceiling, and in the center there were pods. Dozens of them. They looked like glass coffins, each one glowing with a faint blue light. Report this to the commander, Hana said, and nobody touch anything, but Doyen wasn't listening. He stared at one of the pods. Inside he could see something moving. Something that looked like liquid light flowing and shifting. It was beautiful. And terrifying. He took a step closer. Just to see better. Just to understand, his boot hit something on the floor. A piece of equipment from the research team. It sparked. The spark jumped to a nearby panel. The panel lit up. The room filled with a humming sound. And the pod started opening. Doyen, what did you do? Taiyang shouted. I didn't mean to. The nearest pod opened completely. The thing inside poured out like water, but it moved with purpose. It was made of light and something solid, shifting between states. It rose up, forming a shape like a serpent made of stars, then it screamed. The sound wasn't noise. It was something felt in the bones, in the teeth, in the soul, and it attacked. The creature launched itself at Commander Park, who had just entered the room. He raised his rifle, but the thing was too fast. It touched his neck and he collapsed, convulsing. Open fire, Hana screamed. Bullets passed through the creature like it wasn't there. It moved to the next soldier. Then the next. Each time it touched someone, they fell. Their bodies jerked and twisted. Their eyes rolled back. Taiyang tried to run. The creature caught him. He went down hard, foam coming from his mouth. Yuna grabbed Doyen's arm. We have to go! But there was nowhere to go. The creature turned toward them. It flowed across the floor like hunting lightning. Doyen couldn't move. His legs wouldn't work. His mind screamed at him to run, but his body was frozen. The creature rose up in front of him. This close, he could see it wasn't just light. There were patterns inside it, symbols, intelligence. It reached for him. Doyen closed his eyes. He felt it touch his chest. Cold. Then hot. Then everything at once. The sensation spread through his body like ice water in his veins. His mind exploded with colors and sounds and feelings that weren't his own. Then darkness took him and he fell into nothing. Doyen woke up in the medical bay. White lights burned his eyes. Machines beeped around him. His body felt strange, like it belonged to someone else. He's awake, someone said. Yuna's voice, footsteps approached. Commander Park appeared above him, looking down with hard eyes. Bandages covered his neck where the creature had touched him. How do you feel? The commander asked. Doyen tried to sit up. His muscles screamed in protest. What happened? You've been unconscious for 48 hours, Yuna said. She helped him sit up, adjusting the bed. After the creature attacked, we barely made it back to the ship. You were the only one it didn't reject. Reject. Commander Park crossed his arms. The thing tried to bond with 12 soldiers. Every single one of them collapsed within seconds. Their bodies rejected it like a poison. But not you. With you, it just stayed. Doyen looked down at his chest. His skin looked normal. No marks, no scars. But he could feel something inside him. Something alive that wasn't him. We can't remove it, Yuna said quietly. It's integrated with your nervous system. Surgery would kill you. We've tried every scan we have. The thing is wrapped around your brainstem, your spine, everything. What is it? Doyen whispered. We recovered data logs from the research vessel, Commander Park said. He pulled up a holographic display. Images appeared in the air, alien symbols, diagrams, and video footage. The creature is a parasite, a bioweapon created by an extinct alien race called the Vreldine. They engineered these things to bond with warriors, to make them stronger, faster, deadlier. But why me? Doyen asked. The question felt stupid even as he said it. I'm not a warrior. I'm barely a soldier, nobody answered. That was answer enough. We're keeping you under observation, Commander Park said. Medical staff will monitor you every 6 hours. If the parasite shows any signs of hostility, we'll have to make difficult decisions. He didn't say what those decisions were. He didn't have to. The next 3 days were strange. Doyen stayed in the medical bay, connected to machines that tracked every heartbeat, every breath. Scientists came and went asking questions, running tests, treating him like a lab specimen instead of a person. The parasite didn't do anything. It just existed inside him, quiet and still. On the 4th day, things changed. Doyen was trying to sleep when he felt it. A sensation like cold water spreading through his mind. Not painful, just present, and with it came something else. A feeling, curiosity. The parasite was curious about him. He sat up fast, heart racing. The machines around him beeped louder. But the feeling didn't go away. It grew stronger. He could sense the parasite now, really sense it. It was like having a second presence in his head. Separate but connected, Yuna, he called out. His voice cracked. She came running. What's wrong? Are you in pain? It's awake, Doyen said. The parasite. It's aware. More scientists arrived. They ran new scans, asked new questions. But Doyen barely heard them. He was focused on the presence in his mind. It wasn't speaking in words. It was showing him things. Images. Feelings. He saw alien worlds, battles in the sky, creatures fighting with weapons made of light. And through it all he felt the parasite's purpose. It was searching. Looking for something. Looking for a predator. The readings are changing, one of the scientists said. His neural activity is off the charts. And look at this, his reflexes. Test his reflexes. They dropped something, a pen. Without thinking, Doyen's hand shot out and caught it before it hit the ground. His movement was faster than he'd ever moved before. Perfect. Precise. He stared at his hand. That wasn't him. That was the parasite. No, it was both of them. Together. The test continued for hours. They found that Doyen could sense electromagnetic fields now. Could see in the dark. His memory had become perfect. He could recall every word spoken to him since he woke up. And his reaction time was incredible, faster than any human should be. This is what the Vreldian wanted, one scientist said. Super soldiers. Enhanced warriors, but Commander Park looked troubled. The log said these parasites bonded with apex predators, the strongest, most dangerous beings in any species. He looked at Doyen. So why did it choose him? Nobody had an answer. That night, Doyen couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, feeling the parasite move through his thoughts. It was trying to show him something. More images. More feelings. He saw the Vreldian. They were tall, with 4 arms and faces covered in bone plates. They bred the parasites to make themselves stronger. But they had a problem. The parasites kept rejecting them. Thousands of attempts, thousands of failures. Because the Vreldian didn't understand what made a predator, they thought it was strength, size, weapons. But the parasites knew better. A real predator wasn't the biggest or strongest. It was the one that could adapt. The one that could survive anything. The one that refused to die. Doyen saw more. He saw the parasites finally bonding with certain Vreldian. Not the warriors. Not the strongest. They bonded with the ones who had survived impossible things. The ones who had been broken and rebuilt. The ones who understood that survival meant more than winning. You chose me because I fail, Doyen whispered to the darkness. Because I keep trying even when I can't win. The parasite sent back a feeling. Not quite agreement. More like recognition. Yes, it seemed to say. You understand, the alarm woke everyone at 0400 hours. Doyen jerked upright and immediately felt the parasite surge through him. His senses sharpened. He could hear everything. Footsteps in distant corridors, whispered conversations, the hum of the ship's engines. All combat personnel to stations. We have hostile contact. Doyen disconnected himself from the monitors and ran. Yuna tried to stop him, but he was already gone, moving faster than he should be able to. The bridge was chaos. Screens showed enemy ships approaching, sleek, sharp vessels that looked like they were made of knives. Wrath Collective, Commander Park said. He looked like he hadn't slept. They must have been tracking the same alien derelict. They want the parasites. How many? Lieutenant Hanna asked. 3 warships. We're outgunned. Can we run? They're faster. They'll catch us before we can jump to hyperspace. Doyen watched the screens. The Wrath ships were getting closer. In minutes, they'd be in weapons range. He felt the parasite analyzing everything, calculating, thinking. We need to fight, he heard himself say. Everyone turned to look at him. Commander Park's expression was unreadable. You're not combat rated, Taeyang said from his station. He'd recovered from the parasite's initial attack, but he still looked weak. You can barely hold a rifle. That was before, Doyen said. The words felt right, true. I'm different now. He's right, Yuna said. She'd followed him to the bridge. His test results are incredible. He might be our best chance. Commander Park studied Doyen for a long moment. This is not a simulation. Out there you die for real. I know, Doyen said. And he did. The parasite showed him what the Wrath were. Scavengers. Pirates. They'd killed the research team. They'd kill everyone on this ship just to get the parasite technology. Fine, Commander Park decided. Suit up. You're with Hana's squad. 30 minutes later, Doyen stood in the armory strapping on combat armor. Taeyang was there too, checking his weapons. He looked at Doyen with something that wasn't quite hate anymore. Maybe respect, maybe fear. Don't get us killed, Taeyang said. I'll try not to. The Wrath ships opened fire first. The horizon's edge shook as energy weapons slammed into the shields. Alarms blared. Doyen felt every impact like it was hitting his own skin. The parasite was connected to the ship's system somehow, feeding him information. Boarding pods incoming, someone shouted. The Wrath were going to board them. Hand-to-hand combat. Exactly what Earth soldiers were trained for. Except Doyen saw something others couldn't. The parasite showed him electromagnetic signatures, heat patterns, movement predictions. He could see where the Wrath would breach before it happened. Section 7, he said. They're coming through Section 7. How do you know that? Hana asked. I just do. Trust me, she hesitated. Then nodded. All squads, defensive positions at Section 7, they ran. Doyen felt the parasite flowing through his muscles, making him faster. He kept pace with soldiers who'd been training for years. The corridor opened into a large cargo bay. Good place for a fight. Lots of cover. Positions. Hana ordered. They spread out. Weapons ready, waiting. The wall exploded inward. Metal screamed. And through the smoke and fire, the Wrath came pouring in. They were smaller than humans, but faster. Covered in brown scales with too many eyes. They carried weapons that crackled with blue electricity. Fire! Hana screamed. The battle began. The cargo bay filled with weapons fire and screaming. Doyen ducked behind a container as blue bolts of energy tore through the air above him. His heart hammered. His hands shook. This was nothing like the simulations. This was real. A Wrath soldier rushed his position. Doyen raised his rifle, but his finger froze on the trigger. He'd never killed anything before. Never hurt anyone. The Wrath lifted its weapon. The parasite surged. Doyen's body moved before his mind caught up. He rolled left, the energy bolt missing him by inches. His rifle came up smooth and natural. He fired. The shot hit the Wrath in the center of mass, and it went down hard. Good shot, Yuna shouted from somewhere to his right. But Doyen was already moving. The parasite showed him patterns in the chaos. It highlighted threats, calculated trajectories, predicted movements. 3 Wrath soldiers were flanking around a stack of crates. Another 2 were setting up a heavy weapon near the breach point. Heavy weapon, 10 o'clock. Doyen called out. Taeyang pivoted and fired. His shots were precise, deadly. The Wrath went down before they could activate their weapon. The battle lasted 7 minutes. It felt like 7 hours. When the last Wrath fell, the cargo bay was filled with smoke and the smell of burned metal. 5 human soldiers were down, 2 dead, 3 wounded. Medical team to Section 7, Hana said into her comm. Her voice was steady, but Doyen could see her hands shaking. Seal the breach. I want eyes on all access points. They might send another wave. Doyen leaned against a wall, trying to catch his breath. He'd survived. They'd won, but the cost was everywhere he looked. You fought well, Commander Park said, appearing through the smoke. Better than well, how? The parasite, Doyen said. It shows me things, patterns, possibilities. It's like I can see a few seconds into the future. That's impossible. So are alien parasites that live in your brain. Park almost smiled. Fair point. He looked around the cargo bay. We can't take another attack like this. We need to end this fight before they send reinforcements. They want the parasites, Hana said. Maybe we can use that. What are you suggesting? She looked at Doyen. Bait. An hour later, Doyen stood in the shuttle bay, trying not to think about how insane this plan was. They were going to send him across to the nearest Wrath warship in a shuttle, alone, pretending to surrender. While Hana's team followed in a cloaked assault craft. You don't have to do this, Yuna said. She was doing a final check of his suit systems. There are other options. No, there aren't, Doyen replied. Not good ones, anyway. What if they kill you immediately? Then Hana's team strikes while they're distracted. He tried to sound braver than he felt. The parasite shows me probabilities. This plan has a 47% chance of success. That's not good odds. It's better than 0. The shuttle launch went smoothly. Doyen piloted the small craft across the space between ships. broadcasting surrender codes the whole way. The Wrath warship loomed larger. Up close it looked like something alive, all curves and sharp edges. His comm crackled. "Shuttle, you will dock at Bay 3. Any deviation will result in immediate destruction." "Understood," Doyen said. His mouth was dry. The parasite pulsed in his mind. Not afraid, curious, ready, he docked. The bay doors sealed behind him with an ominous clang. When the shuttle ramp lowered, 20 Wrath soldiers were waiting with weapons aimed at him. "Exit slowly," one of them said. The translator device made its voice sound mechanical. Hands visible. Doyen walked down the ramp. His hands were raised. He could feel the parasite analyzing everything, the soldiers' positions, their weapons, weak points in their formation. A larger Wrath pushed through the crowd. This one wore armor decorated with bones and had more scars than scales. "You are the bonded human," it said. "Not a question. Yes. Our sensors detected the Vreldian signature within you. You will give us the parasite." "I can't. It's integrated with my nervous system. Removing it would kill me." The large Wrath tilted its head. "That is acceptable." Before Doyen could react, one of the soldiers fired. Not a killing shot. A stun bolt that hit him in the chest. His muscles locked up. He collapsed, unable to move but fully conscious. They carried him deeper into the ship. The corridors were hot and smelled like sulfur. His paralyzed eyes could only stare at the ceiling as they moved. The parasite raged inside him, trying to break through the stun effect. They entered a medical bay. It looked like a nightmare. Tables covered in blood, tools that gleamed with sharp edges, containment pods lining the walls. "Strap him down," the large Wrath ordered. They locked Doyen onto a table. The stun effect was wearing off. He could move his fingers now, almost his hands. A Wrath in a white coat approached. "The extraction will be painful," it said, "but you will live long enough for us to learn from your biology." It picked up a tool that looked like a drill. Doyen closed his eyes. Hana's team should be in position now, should be. If they'd made it past the Wrath patrols, if the cloaking held, if everything went according to plan. Too many ifs. The parasite showed him a different path, a possibility he hadn't considered. "Stop fighting it," the parasite seemed to say. "Let me in." Completely until now, Doyen had kept walls in his mind, kept part of himself separate from the parasite, afraid of losing who he was. But in this moment, with a drill descending toward his skull, those walls seemed stupid. He let them fall. The parasite flooded into every corner of his consciousness, and Doyen flooded into the parasite. They became something new, not human, not alien, both. His eyes snapped open. The straps holding him shattered. He moved faster than thought, his hand catching the Wrath doctor's wrist. The bones crunched. "Impossible!" the large Wrath shouted. "Kill him!" But Doyen was already moving. The full bond with the parasite gave him access to abilities he'd only touched before. He could see every path, every option, every outcome. Time seemed to slow. He disarmed the nearest soldier and used its weapon to take down 3 others. A blade appeared in his hand, one of theirs, and he threw it with perfect accuracy. Another Wrath fell. The large one charged him, big, strong, covered in armor. Doyen didn't fight it head-on. He slipped past its swing, found the weak points in the armor, and struck precisely. The Wrath went down hard, gasping for air. The remaining soldiers fled. Doyen stood in the medical bay, breathing hard. His mind was clear. The parasite pulsed with satisfaction. They'd done it, together. An explosion rocked the ship. Hana's team was making their move. Doyen ran. The parasite guided him through the unfamiliar corridors toward the ship's bridge. He encountered Wrath soldiers. They couldn't stop him. He moved like water, like lightning, like something that couldn't be contained. He reached the bridge just as Hana's team breached from the other side. The Wrath crew tried to fight. It was over in seconds. "Doyen." Hana stared at him. "You're different." He looked down at his hands. They were glowing slightly, pulsing with the same blue light as the parasite. "Full integration," he said. "I can control it now. We can control each other." "The other Wrath ships are retreating," one of Hana's team reported. "We've won." Back on the horizon's edge, Doyen sat in the medical bay while scientists ran new scans. Commander Park watched from the doorway. "You're not human anymore," one scientist said. "Not entirely." "I feel human," Doyen replied. And he did. More human than before, actually. Like he finally understood what that meant. The parasite showed him more memories, The Vreldian had created these creatures to make apex predators, but they misunderstood their own creation. The parasites didn't look for strength. They looked for adaptability. Humans were weak compared to most species, smaller, slower, no natural weapons. But humans adapted. They survived impossible things. They took damage and kept going. They learned from every failure. That was what made them predators. Not despite their weakness. Because of it, there's something else, another scientist said. We've been analyzing the data from the alien derelict. There are more parasites, dozens, maybe hundreds, and someone sent out a signal before the research team died. Other factions will come looking. Then we need to secure them first, Commander Park said. He looked at Doyen. Can you control more than one? I don't know. Maybe. The first parasite shows me things about the others. They're connected somehow. A hive mind, but individuals too. If the Wrath get them, they won't, Doyen interrupted. These parasites bond with survivors. Humans are good at surviving. Park was quiet for a moment. I'm authorizing a new unit. Special operations. Parasite-bonded soldiers. You'll lead the first team. Me? I'm not a leader. I barely passed training. You passed the only training that matters, Park said. You learned how to keep going when everything said you should quit. That's what the parasites recognize. That's what makes you dangerous. Later, Doyen stood at the observation window looking out at the stars. Yuna joined him. How do you feel? She asked. Different. The same, both. He looked at his reflection in the glass. His eyes had flecks of blue in them now. I'm not the weakest anymore. You never were, Yuna said. Everyone else was just looking at the wrong measurements. The parasite pulsed in agreement. Somewhere out in the dark, more parasites waited. More opportunities. More dangers. But for the first time in his life, Doyen didn't feel afraid of what came next. He felt ready. The briefing room was full. Every chair taken. Standing room only. Word had spread through the ship about what happened on the Wrath warship. About what Doyen had become. Commander Park stood at the front, projecting a star map on the wall. Red markers dotted the display like a disease. Intelligence reports indicate 17 locations where Vreldan weapons caches have been found, Park said. The Wrath are hitting every site they can find. They're collecting parasites and trying to create bonded soldiers. How many have they succeeded with? Lieutenant Hana asked, unknown. But even one would be dangerous. A dozen could be devastating. The map zoomed in on a specific location, a massive structure floating in deep space far from any star system. This is our target, Park continued. The largest Vreldian facility we found. According to the data recovered from the derelict, this was their main production center. If there's a central control system, it'll be there. What's the mission? Taeyang asked. He sat near the front now, not in the back with the low performers. Infiltration and destruction. A small team goes in, secures the facility's core, and shuts down whatever systems are still active. We deny the Wrath their prizes and eliminate the threat. Small team? Someone asked. Park nodded to Doyen. Him, and whoever he picks. All eyes turned to Doyen. He felt the weight of their stares. The old Doyen would have crumbled. But he had the parasite now. And the parasite had learned from centuries of survival. I want Hana, Doyen said. His voice didn't shake. Taeyang, Yuna, and two others, Shin Wubin and Kang Minji. Wubin was an explosives expert, quiet but brilliant. Minji was a tech specialist who could hack anything electronic. Both had nodded to Doyen in the corridors earlier. Small gestures of respect, you have them, Park said. Mission launches in 12 hours. Prep your team. The next 12 hours were intense. Doyen met with each team member individually. Hana was professional, ready but concerned. Are you sure about this? She asked. You've been bonded for less than a week. This facility could be filled with dangers we can't predict. The parasite shows me things, Doyen explained. Memories from the Vreldian. This facility was their pride, their masterpiece, but it was also their downfall. What do you mean? They became obsessed with creating the perfect warrior. They kept making the parasite stronger, more aggressive, but they lost control. The parasites bonded with the wrong hosts that turned on their creators. Hana processed this. So we might be walking into a nest of bonded monsters? Possibly. But the parasite also tells me there's a way to shut everything down. A central control that can put all the parasites into dormancy. You trust it? This thing in your head? Doyen thought about that. It's not just in my head anymore. It's part of me. And I'm part of it. We want the same thing, to survive, to protect what matters. Meeting with Taiyang was different. The man who'd mocked him for months now looked at him with something like awe. "I'm sorry," Taiyang said. No preamble. "For how I treated you." "You were right," Doyen replied. "I was weak. No, I was measuring strength wrong. You kept showing up. Kept trying. That takes a different kind of strength." He paused. "The parasite recognized something in you that I couldn't see." "It recognized something in all of us," Doyen said. "Humans, we're not the biggest or strongest. But we adapt, we endure. That's our weapon." Yuna's preparation was practical. She made sure Doyen's medical monitoring systems were working, checked his vitals, recorded baseline readings for the full bond state. "The integration is stable," she said, studying her datapad. "But I'm worried about stress. If you push too hard..." "The parasite handles stress differently than humans," Doyen said. "It converts it into focus, into power. That sounds dangerous." "Everything about this is dangerous." She looked at him, really looked at him. "Do you ever regret it? Bonding with that thing?" Doyen considered the question. "A week ago, I was the worst soldier in the unit. I failed at everything. I was going to spend my whole service career fixing toilets and being a joke. Now I'm leading a mission to save humanity from an alien threat. So no, I don't regret it. But you're not just you anymore. I'm more me than I ever was." The mission launched on time. Their ship was small, fast, designed for stealth. The 6 of them sat in the crew compartment checking weapons and equipment. Doyun felt the parasite analyzing everything, running calculations, preparing. The Vreldine facility appeared ahead. It was enormous, a structure the size of a city. All black metal and geometric shapes that hurt to look at. Parts of it seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. "That's not natural," Wubin whispered. "Nothing about the Vreldin was natural," Doyen said. "They engineered everything, even themselves." They docked at an access port that Doyen's parasite identified. The facility's systems were old but still active. Lights flickered in the corridors. Gravity worked. Air was breathable if stale. "Stay close," Doyen said. "Don't touch anything unless I say it's safe." They moved through corridors wider than streets. The walls were covered in the same alien symbols from the derelict. But here they glowed faintly. "Active, what do they say?" Minji asked. The parasite translated for Doyen. "Warnings. Only the bonded may pass. The weak will be consumed. Perfection requires sacrifice." "Cheerful place," Taeyang muttered. They encountered the first test 10 minutes in. A doorway blocked by an energy field. No controls. No way around it. Doyen approached the field. The parasite recognized it, a filter. Only bonded individuals could pass. "Wait here," he said to the team. "I'll open it from the other side." "How?" Hana asked. Doyen stepped through the energy field. It felt like walking through warm water. On the other side, a control panel lit up at his approach. The parasite interfaced with it directly, and the field disappeared. "The facility is designed for bonded soldiers," Doyen explained. "It recognizes the parasite's signature. We can move through it easier than others." They continued deeper, more energy fields, more doors that opened at Doyen's approach. The facility was a maze, but the parasite knew the way. Memory from the Vreldine who'd built it. Then they found the first body. It was Wrath. Or had been. The corpse was twisted, bones broken, face frozen in a scream, and inside its chest cavity, visible through torn flesh, was a parasite. Dead. Blackened. Rejected. What happened? Yuna knelt to examine it. "Failed bonding," Doyen said. The parasite showed him the process. The Wrath tried to force it. Tried to take control instead of sharing. The parasite fought back. "How many did they try to bond?" Hana asked. They found the answer in the next chamber. Dozens of Wrath bodies. All failed bondings. All dead. "They don't understand," Wubin said. "You can't force it." "No," Doyen agreed. "You have to accept it. Let it in completely. Trust it." Minji was working on a nearby terminal. "I'm reading massive energy signatures deeper in the facility. Something's active. Something big." The parasite pulsed with urgency. Danger ahead, but also opportunity. They pressed on. The corridors grew wider, taller. The symbols on the walls changed. Now they read, "The apex awaits. The perfect union. The ultimate predator." "I don't like this," Taeyang said. Neither did Doyen, but they'd come too far to turn back. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. It was circular, maybe a kilometer across, and in the center, suspended in a pillar of light, was the largest parasite Doyen had ever seen. It was the size of a building, pulsing with colors that didn't exist in normal space. Mother of... Hana breathed. The queen parasite, Doyen said. The parasite in his mind showed him what this was. The source. The origin. All other parasites were children of this one, and it was waking up. We need to leave, Yuna said. Now, but it was too late. The chamber doors sealed behind them. Lights blazed to life all around. And standing between them and the queen were wrath soldiers. 20 of them. But these were different. These were bonded. Each wrath had a parasite integrated with its body. Their eyes glowed blue. Their movements were fluid, perfect. They'd succeeded where their dead companions failed. But Doyen could see the problem immediately. The bonding was unstable. The parasites were fighting for control. The wrath were fighting back. Neither side was winning. They were trapped in a violent internal war. Defilers, one of the bonded wrath hissed. Its voice sounded wrong, like two beings speaking at once. You would steal the power of the Vreldine. We're here to shut it down, Doyen said. He kept his hand away from his weapon. The parasites aren't meant to be controlled. They're meant to bond, to share. Lies. We are the masters. They serve us. Look at yourselves, Doyen said. You're in pain. The parasites are tearing you apart from inside. That's not mastery. That's slavery. And slaves always rebel. The bonded wrath screamed. All of them. A sound of rage and agony. Then they attacked. The battle was chaos. Doyen's team spread out, taking cover behind pillars. Energy weapons fired in all directions. But the bonded wrath were fast, strong, enhanced by their parasites. Doyen moved through them like water. His parasite worked with him, not against him. Where the wrath fought themselves, Doyen and his parasite were united. That made all the difference. He disabled 3 bonded wrath in as many seconds. Each strike precise. Each movement calculated. Hana and Taeyang provided covering fire. Wubin threw explosives that scattered the enemy. Minji worked on the terminals, trying to find a way to shut down the queen. But more bonded wrath kept coming. Doyen sprinted across the chamber floor. Energy bolts tore through the air around him. His team fought desperately to keep the bonded wrath away from him. He could hear them screaming, fighting, dying, but he couldn't stop. Not now. The queen parasite loomed ahead. This close, it was overwhelming. He could feel its power radiating like heat from a star. Every cell in his body told him to run, to get away. The parasite in his mind pushed him forward. Not orders, encouragement. We can do this. Together. Doyen reached the pillar of light. It was solid energy, warm against his hand. The queen noticed him. He felt its attention turn toward him like the gaze of a god. Then everything changed. His consciousness exploded outward. He was suddenly connected to every parasite in the facility. Hundreds of minds. Hundreds of perspectives. The bonded wrath, the failed attempts, the dormant parasites still in their pods. All of it flooded into him at once. He screamed. The information was too much, too vast. His human mind wasn't built for this. But his parasite was. It filtered the data, made sense of the chaos, showed him what he needed to see. And what he saw was horror. The queen had been alone for thousands of years. The Vreldine died out. Their empire crumbled. She waited in this facility, hoping for worthy hosts. When the wrath came, she tried to bond with them. But they forced it. They hurt her children, made them into weapons instead of partners. She was in pain, angry, dying, and now she'd found someone who understood. Someone who accepted what the parasites truly were. Doyen felt the queen reaching into his mind. Not invading, asking permission. He gave it. The full bond happened in an instant. Suddenly, Doyen understood everything. The parasites weren't weapons. They were symbiotes. They evolved on a dying world where survival meant cooperation. 2 species bonding to become something greater. The Vreldine found them and tried to use them. But you couldn't use a partner. You could only share, I understand now, Doyen whispered. His voice echoed through every parasite in the facility. You were never meant to conquer. You were meant to save, the queen pulsed. Yes, finally. Someone understands. The wrath are killing your children, forcing them into bonds that hurt. We need to stop it. Show me. Doyen showed her everything. His life, his struggles, his failures. How he kept getting back up. How he found strength not in winning but in enduring. How humanity survived by adapting, by changing, by refusing to give up. And the queen showed him her truth. The parasites bonded with survivors because survivors understood what mattered. Not power, not dominance, connection, trust, working together to face impossible odds. That's what made a predator. Not teeth or claws, the will to survive and help others survive. Help me save them, Doyen said. Your children. My friends. All of us. The Queen's answer shook the entire facility. Yes, power flooded through Doyen, not just from his parasite. From all of them. Every parasite in the facility connected through him. He became a conduit, a bridge, human and alien and something new. He opened his eyes. They blazed with blue light. The bonded wrath froze. Their parasites felt the Queen's presence. They stopped fighting their hosts and started listening. Stop, Doyun commanded. His voice was his own, but also ancient. The Queen speaking through him. Stop fighting each other. You were never meant to struggle. You were meant to unite. The bonded wrath collapsed. Their parasites withdrew from the forced control. Instead of dominating, they offered partnership. Some wrath accepted. The pain left their faces, replaced by understanding. They stood as true bonded pairs now. Others rejected the offer. Their parasites withdrew completely, leaving them alive but normal. They fled. The battle was over. Doyen released the connection slowly. The Queen's presence faded from his immediate consciousness, but he could still feel her. Part of him now, part of all of them. He fell to his knees. Yuna reached him first, checking his vitals. I'm okay, he said. His voice was weak. Human again. It's done. What did you do? Hunter asked. She stood over three wrath who'd accepted true bonding. They watched her with calm, intelligent eyes. No longer enemies, showed them the truth. Parasites and host working together. Not master and slave. Partners. Minji was at a terminal reading data. The facility's powering down. All the hostile systems are shutting off. The dormant parasites are entering a safe hibernation state. What about the Queen? Taiyang asked. Doyen looked at the massive parasite. It was still suspended in light, but somehow it seemed more peaceful now. She'll stay here. Guard her children. Wait for hosts who understand what bonding truly means. The wrath who accepted the partnership, one of them said. Its voice was clear now, not torn between two wills. We understand now. We were wrong. Will you let us leave? Doyen looked at his team. Hana nodded. So did the others. Go, Doyen said. Tell your people what you learned. Spread the truth. The parasites aren't weapons. They're partners. Treat them as such or don't bond at all. The wrath bowed. Then they left, moving with a grace they'd never had before. The journey back to the horizon's edge was quiet. Everyone was exhausted. Doyen slept most of the way, his parasite recovering alongside him. In his dreams he felt the Queen, distant but present, a connection that would never fully break. Commander Park was waiting in the docking bay. He studied Doyen as they disembarked. Mission success? He asked. The facility is secure, Hana reported. Hostile forces neutralized. Parasites protected. And we've established diplomatic contact with reformed wrath who understand proper bonding. Park raised an eyebrow. Diplomatic contact? That wasn't part of the mission. Plans changed, Doyen said. He felt different. Older somehow. Like he'd lived 1,000 years in a few hours. The parasites aren't the threat we thought they were. They're the solution. Over the next week, everything changed. Word spread through human military channels about what Doyen had learned. About true bonding versus forced control. About partnership instead of domination. Volunteers came forward. Soldiers who wanted to bond with parasites. But not for power. For connection. For understanding, Doyen helped screen them. The parasites were careful now, selective. They looked for specific traits. Not strength. Not aggression. They looked for people who'd survived impossible things. Who kept getting up. Who understood that real power came from working together. One volunteer was rejected immediately. He was strong, highly trained, perfect combat scores, but the parasite could see his arrogance. His need to dominate. It withdrew. Another volunteer was accepted instantly. She was small, had failed her combat certification twice, worked in communications, but she'd survived a ship breach that killed 50 people, had pulled 3 others to safety before escaping herself. The parasite recognized a kindred spirit. Yuna was there when the bonding happened. She monitored the woman's vitals as the parasite merged with her nervous system. It was peaceful, gentle, nothing like the violent forced bondings the wrath had attempted. It's beautiful, Yuna said softly, when it's done right. That's what I've been trying to tell everyone, Doyen replied. Taiyang was the next to volunteer. He stood before Doyen, nervous for the first time since they'd met. I want to try, Taiyang said. I want to understand what you've found. Why? Doyen asked. You're already an excellent soldier. That's the problem. I'm good at fighting, at winning, but I've never really failed. Never been broken. The parasites don't bond with winners. They bond with survivors. You're wrong, Doyen said. They bond with both. You survived battles. Lost friends. Kept going. That's survival too. A parasite was brought forward. One of the Queen's children, carefully transported from the facility. It approached Taiyang cautiously, testing, searching, then it bonded. Taiyang gasped. His eyes went wide. Then he smiled. I understand now, he whispered. I finally understand. 3 months later, Doyen stood on a platform overlooking a training facility. Below, 50 bonded pairs worked together. Human and parasite, learning, growing, becoming something new. It wasn't the Vreldian Empire reborn. It was something better, an equal partnership between species. Humans brought their adaptability, their stubborn refusal to quit. Parasites brought their processing power, their ancient knowledge, their understanding of survival. Together, they were unstoppable. Commander Park joined him on the platform. 12 more applications today, Park said. From all branches. Army, Navy, even civilians. Are we sure about civilians? Doyen asked. The parasites aren't just for combat anymore. They're helping with medicine, engineering, exploration. Anywhere humans push boundaries, parasites make them better. That's the point, Doyen said. We're not conquering. We're exploring, together. Yuna approached with a data pad. Message from the Wrath, the ones we let go. They've established a bonding program similar to ours. They're actually asking for advice. Former enemies becoming allies, Park mused. The galaxy is changing fast. It had to, Doyen said. The old way didn't work. Domination, control, force. That just creates more enemies. But partnership, understanding, that creates something better. He looked at his reflection in the window. His eyes still had flecks of blue. The parasite was always with him now. Part of him. They'd shared so much, thoughts, feelings, memories. They were one being with two perspectives, and he'd never been happier. Do you ever miss it? Yuna asked. Being just you? I was never just me, Doyen replied. I was always incomplete, always failing, always inadequate.